I was gonna talk
Or-
about the cancel culture, man. That's coming on rampant.
oh Lord, cancel culture. I don't even know what to say about cancel culture. Cancel culture is too much.
This guy.
I know what to say about cancel culture. Cancel culture.
I feel like it's just toxic because at the end of the day, nobody really gets canceled. Like
You know what cancel culture reminds me of?
what?
And I hate to say this because I'm actually standing in front of an actual woman that seems to be, very sensical, but it reminds me of feminism in the early 90s. How the overall arcing of cancellation of the toxic masculinity and the overall arcing of trying to get everything to a softer, more, neutral world. And then all of a sudden, that same softer and neutral world is producing guys that women now feel are gay.
Yeah, well, hold on. Like,
I think it's the same phenomenon. You're witnessing a bunch of people neutralize society to a point now where you can't have an opinion, and
so
now
you're not.
everybody's a bunch of lamos.
So now
I
you're
was just
going
about
into.
to say I was just about to say that like it's a way to make people. It's like a way to silence people in a sense instead of learning something. Because like you can't always cancel everything and everyone. You do have to listen or see things that you don't like in order to learn new things. You can't always be around things that you're comfortable with. You got to learn from things that make you uncomfortable.
Well, yeah. So, like, cancel culture is the ultimate demon's head on this whole thing because, like, you can associate with race, you can sexism, you can do all that sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
people are just expressing a zero tolerance for anything, and it's just like, is it really tolerance, or are you just not taking the time to understand what's going on? Because the things that are
Exactly.
being canceled right now is just ridiculous.
Exactly, but that's what I mean. Like people aren't taking their time out to understand other people, even if it's something that you disagree with. Like take your time to actually understand it in order to have a different perspective. Because how can you really learn something new or understand something without hearing it out first? But I've noticed it with cancel culture, they can't. I noticed it's not even that the fact that they cancel because there's a reason to cancel it. I've noticed a lot of people cancel things because of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just emotions all being brought into it. Like because their feelings are hurt, oh, you're canceled, but you're not really taking your time out to understand whatever is being said.
I don't think they're going that far because things are being canceled before anybody's being really offended by it. Like
exactly.
There's what's your name from fuck, I forget the article, but she was supposed to be doing Teen Vogue or something. Things like Alexia something or other. And yes, thank you. And she walked away from the job because people are calling her up on a tweet that she did almost 10 years ago when she was 17. So,
but that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna cancel people, that means everybody's canceled because everybody's done something outrageous before in their life.
Yeah. Here's the thing about cancel culture that a lot of people don't seem to realize the harm and the benefit. Like, okay, I'll play devil's advocate for one quick second.
Yeah.
Cancel culture has one benefit only. Quick mass action. We've gotten to a point now where it's an actionable activity to actually wipe somebody from the ethos. It's very, very actionable now. So that's the one benefit that it has. I'm not saying it's a great benefit. I am just saying it is a benefit like a tool, like a hammer. You can crack somebody in the head with a hammer or you can hit nails with it. It's the tool and how you actually choose to use it.
But the thing is, it's destructive because now we're running into a situation where everyone has to be hypersensitive, and it's great that there's a lot of companies and businesses and groups that are sitting here and saying, yeah, we have to be more conscious. But it's like we've gone through years of people not being mobilized and feeling compelled to do something, and then they're just being hyper mobilized. We're like, this might potentially, and it's just like, okay,
not even mobilized. They're being weaponized as a whole.
It's now being weaponized. Well, actually, no. Hold on a second. It's not being weaponized per se. It's because I would call it weaponized when it has an immediate action. So it's just like if like Andrew, you said something, right? Like I found out a tweet that you did about Chinese people, and I'm like, all right, you've been canceled. It's something that's detrimental to you immediately. Like you've been canceled, you lose your house, your wife leaves you, your son disowns you, all that sort of stuff, or it leads to some kind of physical harm. That's the level where I'm saying it might be weaponized, but it's getting danger close because a lot of people are being impacted negatively by it. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their well-being, they're being
reputations being sought.
Right. And
well, the thing is, as a whole, I think the biggest problem with cancel culture as a whole is that there's no checks and balances to the entire system as cancel culture. The person who is canceling you or the person that puts this information out, they themselves don't receive the same relevant of scrutiny. And that's half the problem. You can get canceled by the most anonymous source that has basically your harm in mind, and it can go through. We're witnessing it with T.I. We're witnessing it with a lot of other people who are like look at Michael Jackson. Yeah. The guy's been dead now forever, but yet he's got new cases. Yeah. Like that is the ultimate version of cancel culture. Somebody who's already passed, we got no reason to talk about him anymore. But because the fact that somebody else wants to profit or benefit from the situation, they're using cancel culture to their overall arc.
It started to become a game to people now, like, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's why, to be honest, that's why most people don't even take cancel culture seriously, because people are just using it like as a joke thing now.
Well, yeah. Honestly, I would love cancel culture to reach a level like that. It's like, you know, when the coach calls like the foul or review on a play, and if it's a bad call, they lose a timeout. That's what cancel culture should be. Like, you can call bullshit on somebody and it's just like, yo, let's review this, and if it becomes problematic, then we deal. If not, yo, you get fucked up. Like, you call it on someone and like, yo.
Like I said, there needs to be checks and balances for the entire thing. Like, I watched Bill Burr say this, like, basically he's one of my favorite comedians because a lot of the time, I don't agree with what Bill Burr thinks. The reason why he's one of my favorite comedians is because I learn a lot of shit from Bill Burr. Yeah. Bill Burr has a way of putting things that even if I don't agree with him, I have to listen. I have to listen to what he is saying as a whole. And he had this to say about cancel culture as a whole. He says, if we take the entire thing as a whole, everybody is cancelable. Yeah, there's not one person on the planet that would
exactly what I was saying.
Cancel culture. He says, if you go back to your 5th grade teacher and in 10 years ago, he may have said something to you, so now you're willing to bring it up when he has some opportunity. He's like, the problem with cancel culture, it's full of opportunists. They're only using it when that person has the ability, or else people would cancel you when you're worth nothing.
No, but that's exactly what I was trying to say like earlier. Like, regardless, everybody will get canceled then if that's the case, because we all did something that was outrageous or said something outrageous or something out of pocket. So it's like cancel culture just seems childish at this point. It's like, who cares?
Well, we're running into a situation, so it's funny because Bill Burr is dealing with that controversy with his appearance on the Grammys with that joke he did. But it's I think it's because of COVID, and a lot of people have a lot of time in their hands to like think about hypersensitive.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They're trying to create demons because they're just like, oh, the world sucks right now, and it's just like, I hate this COVID. So, you know, cancel culture is giving everyone the ability to kind of demonize people and say, oh, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. And it's just like, no, we're all bad people because we all say shit. Right. And it's not the appropriateness of saying, okay, we should justify it, but it's just like, bro, stop calling people out on the premise and being like, okay, you're offended, let's talk about it. Like, all the things, Pepe Le Pew and all the Warner Brothers characters that are being canceled. Why? Because of the fact that
it's because of the hypersensitiveness of the situation. Here's the thing, we're at a point now where companies are more willing to cave to culture than they are willing to defend their product.
It's not caving. It's not caving. They want money from both sides, fams. So if they stay neutral, they get both sides. They can go left and right. So instead of sitting here and saying, yo, we're gonna defend somebody, they'll be like, all right, cool, you know where the door is, because we don't have time for that. Like,
like, why put the energy into defending it when they can just simply move on to the next product?
No, it's not even moving on the next product. It's like you're getting attention. All these companies that are involved with it, like the Grammys, are getting attention now. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Why? Because of Bill Burr.
Nobody was talking about it until the whole Pepe Le Pew and like the rabbit. They changed the female rabbit chick to make it less sexy and gave LeBron a hairline. Well, I guess law of equivalent exchange, right?
Well, so yeah, the Lola Bunny
Took away
thing,
her hips and gave him a hairline. So I guess law of equivalent exchange.
the Lola Bunny thing was just an opportunity to empower women. So I get that. Because she was hypersexualized. The director said when he watched when he watched Space Jam, the first one, to get the inspiration, he was just like, why is she being over sexualized? And it's a remnant of the time. You have the character and they had to show her relevancy, and like nobody really pays attention to female ball players, right? Look at the WNBA. You put up a post on Facebook on how the differences on players, like the female players, they're getting skills, right? Will I say that they're at the level when it comes to a lot of the male players? Not,
actually,
but
hold on. There's a sidebar to this. I'm actually want to add to what you were saying before we move on to this. There's an actual controversy being held right now in the Olympic facility right now. No, not the NCAA, the NCC facility right now.
Yeah.
One half of the facility, for the male half, they've given all the males all the workout equipment they need. They've given them weight rooms, everything. In fact, what's happening now is that the gym was split in half. So one half is female, one half is male. The female half, on the other hand, was only given one set of weights. That's it. For the same multi spaces facilities, the same area, the same everything, they were only given one group of dumbbells. Yeah. So really and truly, I do have an opinion that it's kind of two-sided. The female athletes are right. They can never get as good to where the male counterparts are when it comes to skills, because they're never given the money, they're never given the time, they're never given the coaching that's actually required to get up to that skill set. So I can understand that side of it also. But what I am going to say is that this is a counter fan argument. This is an argument about fans, because products and people are going to put the money into whatever they think is profitable. Right. The fans need to support the female sports like they support the male sports, so then the females can get that specific grants and the same opportunities that the male sports figures are given. Because here's the thing. Yes, LeBron James, on that post I was I put out, was LeBron James was being paid almost 40% to 55% more than his female counterpart, who's basically the same.
It's not percentage fans, it's times.
No. Well, yeah.
Working at times is a different thing, because being paid 30 or 40% is soft teams, right?
No, I understand. But what I'm saying in the
that goes on skill set, because LeBron, the number of rings, the amount of player ringing.
But it's not even just that. It's characterization. NBA is strictly based on your ability to put people in the seat.
Yes. It's
not even really your skill set, because highly skilled players get paid less money than guys who can just put butts in the seats.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's a business, and like I feel for the women players, and they'll get their dues as time progresses. I'm pretty confident in that, because
I believe so too.
Like
literally change the game, bro.
The
first female to dunk, and then it started getting more and more popular every year.
Yeah,
I've been seeing slowly people are watching even the WNBA now. Like people are slowly starting to watch.
Bro, rumor has it that Toronto's getting a female team.
We are.
That's what I heard.
So there's ideally, because there's supposed to be a new stadium being built on the east end, like Scarborough, Pickering side, and they were supposed to play out of there. So they were the six. They were supposed to be the Lady Sixes.
Yeah, Lady Six or something like that. But I mean, the biggest problem that we're gonna have is what I would consider the fundamental argument. All right, I'll pose it to you like this: we all watch basketball here, right? Or at least have some familiarity with basketball.
Yeah. Yes. The ball goes in the basket.
Basically. All right. So players to an extent. I'll give it down to you in two ways of thinking about this. Who would you rather watch play? Tim Duncan, a guy who's fundamentally sound, always on time, giving you 100% at all time, or you want to watch Vince Carter dunk all the time? And that's the problem with the WNBA. The excitement, the overarching excitement that comes from the NBA is because of it's not necessarily the thrill of it, it's the theater that they created about these players, the mystery, the interior battles. 90% of people don't even know other than the Sparks and maybe like two other teams, they don't even know the name of these teams. So there has to be a better job put on the marketing side so people can become invested into it. The skill level is one thing, but to be honest with you, them girls is fundamentally sound. You want to see the deadliest step back in your life? It's not from the male side. Every shot goes in when the girls are shooting. Like, they don't be missing.
They just need more recognition towards female sports, period.
But I think it comes down to the notoriety of those women themselves, though, because I think they have to take more on, like not only more on in the sense of like, you know, not cover girl shoots and all of this other stuff, but I mean,
no, I know what you mean.
Boisterous, being more boisterous about your overall, like your sport, your talent, putting yourself, like, there's no moguls from the WNBA that we know about. There are probably a shit ton of them. But we have no idea who these women are. And until we start shining light on who they are as a whole, we won't know shit. I think the same, like, this even ties back into cancel culture. Look at the WNBA players. They all canceled the mayor of that city and got her voted out. That's using cancel culture to its benefits.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like cancel culture doesn't last too long for some people, though, because, like, it might last a long while, but regardless, whoever is being canceled ends up coming back eventually. Well, you end up coming out of that.
That's true.
Yeah, so like cancel culture and its benefit should be a rally cry and say, hey, this is something that needs attention, and you know, let's figure out whether or not this is problematic. But when it comes to people just arbitrarily jumping on board and people following blindly, but then it goes towards the fact that it's something that I'm so annoyed about, and people are probably going to at me for this, but all the people who have the time right now because of COVID, the world slowed down. You have the time to inundate you with bullshit, but you don't have the time to educate yourself. What's wrong?
Oh my God, this is something that's been on my mind.
Like, ask questions. We have time now. We're
the amount of people I see that will complain about everything else that is out there in their own entire, like, I used to get, bro, you know this, like, Ro knows me personally, so he understands this. Yo, I used to get called out for not telling people my business. Like, it'd be like, oh, yo, you were going through some shit. How comes you never told? Nigga, I'm going through some shit, living my life.
Like, why do I need to tell you anything?
Right.
Like, people actually get mad at me for that shit. Like, I take care of the shit that I need to take, and I don't tell somebody, and then they get mad. Like, I was supposed to be deeply involved in their lifestyle. Is any of that shit happening to you too?
Well, it's inclusion. People are so desperate for inclusion that they're like, yo, I thought we were this, and da da da. It's just like, yeah, I get it, but I don't need to involve you in every situation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, some cases just need to know.
Yeah.
Right? And it's no offense, right? Like, if something is happening, I'd let you guys know if it's something that's either going to impact me or slow us down. But sometimes you have to deal with it. Like I just don't understand how people don't recognize that everyone has a right to be a little bit selfish when it comes to and like, no. Go ahead. Like,
no, because you don't like, people nowadays, I've noticed they feel entitled to your life or entitled to you. And it's like, dude, like, I don't need to tell you everything that's going on in my life. Only, like what you said, only if it's important, if it's going to slow us down or you down or anything down, then sure. Or if it's going to impact anybody in any type of way, shape, or form, then sure. But if it's like something deep that has something to do with my personal life, something I need to fix within myself or whatever, I don't need to tell anybody that, because all that is for them is entertainment.
Right. And it's FOMO. It's FOMO because everyone's sitting here and saying, oh, I'm missing out because I want to be relevant. I want to be included. And I want to be a part of something. So cancel culture is being hyper accelerated because everyone wants to jump on board a bandwagon. They want to be like, hey, I champion for this thing, even though they don't realize what it is. Like, going back to our Lola Bunny, everyone's just like, oh, they changed it. But it's just like, it was appropriate because originally during her time, everything's a product of time. So when they created her back in the day, sex appeal was a big thing. Not sitting here and saying it was right. We learned from it, and we're like, yeah, women
got past that point now. Now we've evolved. Let's keep it moving.
She's more empowered, and people can recognize it. So, like, you know what? Let's bring it back to WNBA. Now that the WNBA is more relevant, people could say, hey, women's got skilled. They can desexify Lola to the point where she's like, I'm going to prove myself on the court and make myself relevant based off my skills. That's why they took it away from that. Plus, it has something to do because her character is really active in their cartoon show. And that's the way she kind of looks. So they made the direct correlation. So it's like,
but I also think it correlates down to the fact that you want girls to feel like they're that
inclusion.
average girls to be
like
celebrated.
included.
So
yeah. Inclusion. And
you
that's
don't
the
want
point.
to walk around and have every woman feel like she has to have big breasts, wide hips, this, and this to feel like they're normal.
Right. And that's
part of our general society.
And that's the point that I'm trying to get at. So cancel culture on the right thing, we're looking at, like, if we stick with Looney Tunes, used appropriately,
that's what I'm saying. There's sometimes it gets it right, but it's like, even when it does get it right, there's a group of people that don't want to change.
Right.
They don't want to evolve in that space.
Right.
They just want to have the same old BS.
Right. But that's when things need support. So when people sit there and call bullshit, you'd be like, no, we needed Lola to be a better representation of our times, inclusion and relevancy. But when they sit there in the same movie with Pepe Le Pew and they're like, oh, we're calling canceling him. Why? Because he tried to hit on the girl. The dialogue that they removed from the movie was, he's a bartender. I don't know if you guys seen it, but he's a bartender in the scene, and he tries to hit on one of the patrons. And she rejects him by slapping him. And it's a cartoonic slap where he gets spun around a couple of times and he gets messed up. And then LeBron comes in and goes through dialogue being like, yo, you can't talk to women like that, right? Like,
there was a lesson learned in the action, basically.
Right.
Like,
so in that situation, instead of them saying, no, okay, Warner Brothers sitting here and saying, no, hold on, there's a method to our madness, because he grew up being this character. Now we're going to evolve him into this character. But like, they could have took away, because they during his dialogue, he was just like, my girlfriend put a restraining order on me. And they're referring to Penelope Pussycat, which is the character that he chases in all the old cartoons. Right? If they remove that, then it would have been a problem. But they made him a dog.
They made him trifling.
Right, and they made it extra. So if they just removed that part and said, hey, you know what? Like, if he was, because everybody always gave him the impression that he was kind of a womanizer, and he was like a sex fiend. He was always chasing after her and blah, blah, blah. But the stick was that, like, he found her attractive because every cartoon.
And she only found him not attractive because of
the sting.
The sting.
Right.
Once but then got rid of the
because
sting,
I think she's a cat and he's actually a skunk, but he keeps on thinking she's a skunk.
But the whole idea of it is when she couldn't smell him, she was in love with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, every episode, it was always the same thing. They start off, she runs under something that makes her a skunk or look like a skunk. He chases after her, and then near the end of the episode, either two outcomes. It will get washed off, and he'd be like, oh, I'm not attracted to her anymore because of relatability, or she would get drunk on something. So either they would mask his skin, or she would get drunk and not notice it. And she was a womanizer, because she would chase him down like manic beast mode type foolishness, and then it was just like, oh, I don't want this. So it's not even like they made relevance to it.
What he looked like in reverse,
right? So like, it would have been funny if he got the restraining order on her.
Bars,
right? It's just like, yeah, I found out that my love only liked me because I wasn't stinky, so I worked at a deal, and now I smell fresh. And she came in, and like, I should have got a prenup and all that sort of stuff. That would have been hilarious.
Should have been walked up and be like, she only liked me because I didn't smell.
Right. Right? So it's just one of those things. So it would have been a better lesson, but they just kind of went away with that. And then when everyone didn't like that, they're like, okay, cool. But like, even I don't know, it's just like, the whole thing is just messed up, where people are just calling bullshit for no reason. Like, look how many things are being compromised for no reason.
What I've noticed about cancel culture too, it's like everyone's trying to force people to believe in like their beliefs of what they deem as wrong. It's like everybody has their own different separate opinion. I've noticed it's kind of like they're forcing you to,
I think, the issue
believe in their dynamic.
Yeah, I think the issue that we're seeing is, I think Rohan's 100% right, and I think you're 100% right, where you're watching the hypersensitiveness of the time, because people do have the time now, whereas before they never had this much time. And then the secondness that is also existing in this is that we've changed the dynamics of what it is to be sensitive now. People before, sensitivity meant that it was a personal action. It affected me, so I felt a sensitive way about it, and I was going to let the world know now. We've changed the narrative of sensification to the point where it doesn't even have to offend me.
Yeah.
I become sensitive to the situation because of offending the person sitting next to me. That's what we changed it to now.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, they're making it to the point where, when you really think about it, no one's even really offended by anything. I've noticed it's just a train of following. Everyone's just following one another. Like, they're not even really offended by who's being canceled and why they were canceled. It's just more of like, oh, let's follow each other. Okay,
it's hyper tolerance. It's hyper tolerance. Think about it. We've gone so long, and we talked about in the other episode about like the Meghan Markle thing, and we're saying how like race and and we've gone so long with people having issues with race, gender identity, sex, all that sort of stuff. And I think it's because of the fact that we've gone, remember, it's mostly the millennials that are doing this. So they're the ones who grew up with like, everyone gets an A, equal participation. Nobody has to try. So it's hyper inclusion and hyper tolerance to the point where they're like, oh, we have to be mindful of everybody. Yes, you can be mindful of everybody. You can make sure that people have an equal footing. But this hyper fairness is becoming super problematic.
Because but it's not fair. That's the thing. It's gotten to the point where everybody thinks that we need to treat everybody fairly, to the point where now, if anybody else has the opposite opinion, we treat them unfairly.
They're trying to make everything normalized. And what I realized, that this new generation too is a generation of narcissism. Like a lot of
sterilization. They're sterilizing anybody. Nobody has balls. Nobody has the ability to say,
no. That was always the goal. You guys got to remember, this isn't the first realm of cancel culture. Cancel culture in my lifetime started in the early 90s, just after 1989, when Mad Canada was formed. Basically what happened was, there was a drunk driver. He killed this lady's son, and she formed this company called MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And they went on a censorship mad spree. They got rid of Power Rangers off the air because people were dying in it. They got rid of everything. It's not the first time we've seen this.
No, bro, if we're going to go into history, it's even further, man.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just talking about my history.
There's the censorship board for video games and Mortal Kombat. There's the movie guild, all that sort of stuff. So at the end of
the interest on music, there's always been somebody trying to nanny themselves all.
It's because people are lazy.
Yep.
They don't want to have the conversation, and they don't want to understand what the difference is in certain situation, because it's just like,
or they don't want to take responsibility, because they don't want to be the person who, they don't want to be the person that didn't say, like, here's the worst situation in the world. If you're a parent or something like that, your kid just happens to do something that you didn't educate them on. You don't want to turn around as a parent and admit that. You want it to be society's fault. You don't want to be the one that says, I did not take the time to actually educate my son or my daughter on this subject. You'd much rather it be his video games or this or this or this. It just made the excuse easier. Life needed an excuse.
It's a shame that we're becoming so hyper connected, and you know, it's the demons that are taking over, right? It's not like people are, it's not like people are coming together and creating and developing and growing. It's all like, oh, we're now aware of this. Now we need to be more fearful. You know, we don't want to prepare people for that. Okay, now we need to remove it from the record altogether. Right, like, and
like just hit the delete button.
Well, I think it's because people are feeling it, and they're like, yo, we missed the boat on so many things: sexism, Me Too, racism, Black Lives Matter, all these things. It's like, oh, the world's like this. Okay, you know what? Before we hit another scenario where we're gonna miss the boat to be able to protect or curate what's gonna happen, let's just get rid of it. So it's just like, oh, we think this is going to be offensive? Yeah, I'm going to just make it go away, because we don't have time to help people navigate through this minefield.
Yeah.
But I think well, here's the thing. Final thought on this entire cancel culture, because we shouldn't waste an entire like 8 hours on talking about this. But I think on my identity, or a way I look at and I view cancel culture as a whole, is just like you guys said. It's got this long to last. Cancel culture is going to cancel itself. because eventually every person on the planet's going to get tired of listening to this hypersensitive ass shit, and then we're going to go the opposite way. And I think that's going to be a problem. I think cancel culture's biggest problem is going to lead to the opposite effect of when it is, and then when people stop being sensitive at all.
No, I've noticed cancel culture made everything acceptable, and not everything should be acceptable.
This is true. There should be some pushback.
I don't even think everything's acceptable.
Because now it's making everybody not learn certain things and learn boundaries with certain things. Now everything is free to do, free to explore. It's like not everything should be explored.
It went back to our other podcast on talking about people entering sports and entering fields that with an unfair advantage. It's to the point where today's normality is the abnorm. They're trying to make everything that is non-conforming and non-things that we didn't exist to before normal now, so that everybody can feel included. But there's a problem with that. The problem lies that once you make everything normal, what the fuck is no longer like normal is no more.
Like what's average
anymore. We lose what normal becomes.
Not only that, there's people with actual mental illnesses, and people are deeming certain things that those people with mental illnesses have as normal, meaning like things that they want to do or things that they want to say. Like, let me give an example. Like if somebody was schizophrenic, right, and they said something like, oh, like I feel like this should be right. It's like nowadays people deem that as right because, oh, let's include that person. Let's not make them feel like they're crazy. But it's like, sometimes you got to put some boundaries on things and let that person know, or let that group of people know, no, that's not acceptable. Nowadays, it became now where everything is acceptable. And, if you disagree with it, oh, you're biased. Oh, you're this. It's like, no, that's not the case. It's the fact that it's just not acceptable. Like, I don't know, but
like I said before, it's getting out of hand because it's impacting too many things. Like, you know, recent cancel culture came after Amazon and their logo, right? Amazon changed their logo because everyone said it made them look like Hitler, right? There's recently on Twitch, they had to change the term blind play through, right? When you just plop in a game and you're just everyone's seeing it for the first time because they're like, oh, it's gonna offend blind people. Blind people aren't playing the game, fams. They don't care.
No, but look, Rohan, that's what I mean when I say cancel culture is making people, like, forcing people to believe in their beliefs. Not everybody thinks that though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with the Amazon thing.
Believe by consensus.
Yeah, like they want everybody to believe what they believe. It's like, no, but not everybody sees it the way you're seeing it. You get what I'm saying?
I think the thing is, cancel culture just believes that if I have the largest number, I win. That's really what it
basically.
Is. They're trying to drag as many people to the one side as they possibly can, so they can say, finally, I won, because
but that's why I say that's why I say cancel culture became like a game to people now. It's not even anything taken seriously. They're not really doing they're not really talking about serious things that actually need to be canceled. They're just picking and choosing what makes them feel uncomfortable, and they go, no, I don't want this, so let's cancel it. I've noticed, like I said, it's all about emotions. They're not doing it based on if it's actually bad or if it's actually going to impact the world in a negative light or in a negative way. It's more of like they're just going based off of emotions.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Yeah, people have too much time to feel and not enough time to think. That's what's up. Because feeling is just triggered instantaneously. Thought invokes time and commitment. And
I've noticed a lot of people are too lazy to think, and they're more all up in their feels than they are thinking logically. It's more of like, oh, let's go based off of emotions.
Yeah.
And if the world goes based off of emotions, the world's just going to be crazy, and it's already becoming crazy because everything's being accepted.
That's the thing, though. We've always been based off emotions, but before we had our emotions in check.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Check to actually look and say to ourselves, relatively, this is what we're feeling, but we can look past what we're feeling to look to somebody else. We had empathy before. We had the ability to empathetically feel. Now we're trying to feel how everybody feels.
But that's why I said the newer generation, even if it's not the new generation, just society in general, it became narcissistic. Everyone wants to be me. My feelings, my like me. Like everything's just me. Like everyone wants to be accepted with everything. Everyone's opinions wants to be heard.
But again, it's feelings, because at the end of the day, and I think we should just wrap it up on it. And I don't want to be the last person talking, but you know, we all feel things differently, right? If I poke you, Lexi, and then I poke Andrew, same spot. You might feel a little bit more than Andrew, various reasons, okay? But if we all sit here and say 1 + 1 = 2, we can all agree on that. And that's what the thing should be. People should be on the same page based off of things that are understandable, as opposed to just being like, we feel a certain way. If you're being offended by something and you feel upset by it, all right, let's have a talk about it. But if you're gonna tell me something and be like, oh, I'm offended, why aren't you offended? I don't feel the same way as you, man. I'm looking at the situation and looking at it different.
That's a good closing on that one, because that's exactly that's bars right there.
That's the definition of bars right there.
Like, honestly, cancel culture, fuck your feelings, fact.
Yo, and if you try and cancel me, come over your son get bucks.
Because if you feel something, I'll make you feel something.
Because when you think about it, emotions is something that's within you. That's something that's on you, not everybody else, when you think about it.
Well, that's the truth. And on the final point, since he didn't want to say the last thing, I'll just give you what your grandmother and what all Caribbean people used to say. All una must hear. Say it with me, people. Must feel. And that is us for the night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to Sassy and Sass.
We need to get this man a new phone. So what he's trying to say is, have a good day, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week. Namaste, and we out.
Stay safe.
All right, cool. Well,
he got muted again.
That was fun. All right, cool. Okay. Apparently I'm in demand, because I was seeing my phone blow up and people keep entering my office, so I need to go.
Oh gosh. All right. That was fun, guys, though.
Yeah, sorry about that. Steph was messaging me, so I actually had to pick that one up.
Yeah, see, everybody's calling us now, so I think we need to get back to our day, but we'll link up later.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a double. That was a good double one. We got both of what we needed to do in enough time.
Yeah. All right. Adios, muchachos.
Enjoy. Stay safe.
Stay
Adios,
safe.
motherfuckers.
Bye, Felicia.